We are more alike than unlike, my dear Captain. I have pores. Humans have pores. I have fingerprints. Humans have fingerprints. My chemical nutrients are like your blood. If you prick me, do I not leak?
Increase to full power!
Gives me the creeps. I feel like something's watching us.
Savick, you go right on quoting regulations.
Hello, computer.
I knew I would.
You betrayed your uniform!
Target their cargo hold. Time to take out the garbage.
Smooth as an android's bottom, eh, Data?
I beg your pardon, sir.
Aspires to be better than I am.
Come on. It's gonna be fun.
5 years in space. God help me.
This is the best day of my life!
A phaser? You didn't use it?
Swords are fun.
Welcome back to another Retrek review, where each week we talk about Star Trek, and this week we're talking about episode 3 of season 1 of Star Trek The Next Generation. That episode is entitled The Naked Now.
They like titles with naked in it.
They love it. This episode originally aired October 5th, 1987. It was a teleplay by J. Michael Bingham, which is a pseudonym for DC Fontana.
Oh no.
Yep. Is a story by John D.F. Black and J. Michael Bingham, which John D.F. Black was the original writer for the original series of Naked Time. The synopsis for The Naked Now is the crew of the Enterprise is subjected to an exotic illness that drives them to unusual manic behavior, akin to a type of alcoholic intoxication. That is the introduction, but let's go over to Caleb and ask Caleb what he thought of the episode.
I liked it. I thought it was good. As it started, I was like, man, I could have sworn they've done this already. And then I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, they did do this. I think this is like season 1 of TOS, isn't it? Like one of the first few episodes.
Yeah. It's like not too far into the first season, I think.
So like it was cool to see that like reoccur, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I think the difference is in TOS you know the crew better by the time they do this.
A little bit, yeah.
To see like how you can really tell that they're being manic. But so this is like basically this is the third episode, but it's really the second episode. It's like I don't really understand these characters yet. So for them to just kind of be like crazy, it's like you can tell. I mean, you can tell like they're being weird, but like
Yeah.
I'm not like endeared to these characters really. I think it works better in TOS, but I did enjoy this episode. I thought it was pretty good, and I feel like you get to see the characters like act a little bit more than last episode.
Yeah, it's yeah. We'll get into
It's also fun too because it's like, I was worried going into this show it was going to be like not necessarily like super serious, but like more modern because, TOS is like
Yeah.
50s, 60s, and this is now like the 80s.
Yeah.
But this is just as cheesy. So it kind of it kind of fits in, It's like there's been no gap. It's like I was watching it, I was like, man, it's so funny because like I remember like being a kid and thinking like the Picard stuff is like really more like modern and serious.
Right, right.
And maybe it gets that way later on, but this episode specifically, I was like, this is just like TOS. It's like
Mm-hmm. Yes.
kind of wacky and characters are being like real crazy and
It's the thing of I always talk about where you're grateful for Gene Roddenberry, but you're also like, maybe don't have Gene Roddenberry give his ideas.
because this is the stuff he loves.
Yeah.
What if everybody was like horny? I was like, oh, okay. That may be a good
Yeah.
episode. And also, it's kind of one of those like cheesy, things because it's like, hey, so we already did this. And it's like, yeah, but now it's like way in the future. And now this enterprise experiences this disease. It's like, okay. So, like, for me, the whole time I was like, well, wouldn't you have like records of this and also like McCoy's like
Right.
write up and his like vaccine and all that stuff. And
Right.
like, yeah, they eventually get to that.
Right.
But and then they're like, oh well, it's kind of mutated a little bit. And it's like, okay, that I get
Right.
that. So they did flush that out, but like when you were going through it,
Like initially, yeah.
I was like, how would they not know about this? Like,
Right, right. It's a dual edged thing where it's like in that scene where Data is sitting down and Riker's like, I have some vague memory of this. One, Data has to go through like 200 years of the entire Federation, not just Starfleet, like
right.
referring to people showering with their clothes on, which is like so broad that I get that that's not like a common thing, but at the same time, like maybe it is in some cultures. Like who knows what aliens are doing out there? So it's like it literally is him just searching for. I mean, just imagine having like 35 different alien cultures involved in the Federation and then having 200 years of them being involved and coming across things in space. It's like it would take, if you don't have something super specific, I mean, we deal with it with Google. You type in a very
Yeah.
specific thing and they're like, maybe this? And you're like, no, no, more specific, more specific. And then the other thing is with the McCoy
Mhm.
thing, it's like Beverly obviously can put two and two together pretty quick once she figures it out, but like it's still like probably close to 100 years old
Yeah.
of like information, which is like doctors now looking at somebody from like the 1920s and being like, oh, they have a cure for this cough. Like they'd have to go digging for it, type of thing.
Yeah, it would be outdated too.
Right. And also since it's not like a common thing.
Yeah.
So this brings us to our wonderful, great episode ranking.
I'm gonna go like bottom tier of like a CUDA.
Like half an Akuda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if there's a needle and like Gene Roddenberry's here and
Okay.
Akuda's here,
Okay.
then the needle for me is like right about here.
So it's like half a Gene Roddenberry and half an Akuda, basically.
Yeah, it's a Kuberry. That's right here.
Kuberry.
Like
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Like so I watched it last night when I had some dinner and I watched it and I wasn't like bored. My favorite recurring thing so far is that anytime I get to hear Picard say, "What the hell?" My favorite. I love it. So, and it was funny how last week I was like, "Hey, so is that like the last time we see Jordy's eyes?" And you're like, "No." And it's like immediately this episode's like, "Oh, okay." So this is like, I like for some reason I've never seen his eyes like ever.
Ever,
Anytime
yeah.
I've ever watched the show. And now it's like the first two episodes, he's just like, look at my eyes.
Look at
Like,
them.
wow,
Oh,
look at it. You know what's funny too is
Hmm.
I had forgotten that the thing transfers by like touch
Oh,
through
yeah.
like water.
Yeah. Sweaty little fingers.
Yeah.
That's my favorite too, is everybody's like, they're like everything transpires from touch and they're all wearing like pretty like covered clothes except for like their hands and their heads.
Yeah.
And
So
then
they have to
everybody's
touch
like,
this.
Beverly, have you seen Picard? And you're like, why is he like they come over here and they're like touching people like weirdly. And I'm like, it's such a
It's such yeah,
it's nobody
yeah, he
ever
walks
does.
up
Right.
he walks up to the doctor and like checks her pulse, and it was like,
Right.
what the.
Like nobody interacts with each other like that.
So my two favorite things, are real quick, and then we'll get to them. But like
Yeah.
when he checks her pulse, when she's like clearly
Yeah.
working at the computer, and then at the very end when Picard gives the antidote to Wesley, he like
Oh,
like pushes him away,
he
and then
does.
he has to like reach over and then do his shoulder. And I was like, why did you just
Just
why
do
did
it.
he just do his shoulder when he was
Yeah.
standing? He like pushes him, and then he has to like reach over weirdly to like inject. That was super funny.
It was funny. Now we're to our subscriber section. Our two latest subscribers are Cross Muradian and just an hour ago, Stop. Let's team up. So thank
For
you for
subscribing,
subscribing.
Warrior.
Kapla.
And as always, you can go over to Patreon to hear your name shouted out every single week if you want to do that and get some fun, cool extras. All right, let's get into the review. So we come in before the intro, the traditional Star Trek intro, where we don't just start with the music and the cinematics. We get into the episode, is how I like Star Trek, where it just starts and then
Just starts, yeah, no kidding.
yeah. I enjoyed the captain or the individual on the comms being like, "Oh, pretty boys."
Hopefully, Captain, you come over. Yeah, I was like, oh my god, Captain, I think they blew out the airlock.
So when they showed all the frozen people, did you kind of put it together or no?
I was still very much like, where have I seen this? Where have I seen
Mm.
this before? Yeah, I couldn't place it. I couldn't place it between TOS and Enterprise.
Okay.
I was like, I've seen this before. Obviously, it makes more sense that Enterprise did it because of the timeline.
Right.
But I am usually always confused as to like, well, maybe Enterprise is playing off of these shows. So maybe I've seen something like this, but
Right.
when he opens up the shower and she's in the shower, like into their clothes on and like touches her, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this I've definitely seen this before.
It's really funny that when they get over there and it's like you think about the shower curtain like spacesuits that they had in the original episode, and then
Oh yeah,
they're
they're
just,
just
like, walking
freely
around.
walking around. Yeah,
No big deal.
yeah. I thought about that when they beamed into the ship, they're just like walking around, and I was like, isn't there like no oxygen in the ship? Isn't there like a giant open?
Just that one part, just the bridge.
Yeah,
That where he says, blown out, sir. And he's like, oh, yes. Thank you, Data. That's funny. But
I
yeah,
think the ice looked pretty good on everything until he like caught her,
yes.
and like she looks really bad, but also then he's got like powdered sugar all over him, all over his like uniform.
Yes.
Like this is clearly just like
Yeah. That's like
flour or
sugar.
something.
And yeah. Yeah. But I did like that had that little like it has that like sizzle noise that happens
Yeah.
when they touch. Yeah.
Yeah, every time they touch, they play that like that like horror sound effect.
But what's funny is in the original episode, yes, it transfers to people and they're constantly like rubbing their hands and like sweating. But in the but in this episode, but in that episode, also like almost like that thing type thing is like that red liquid thing is on the wall and the guy takes his gloves off and then the thing like touches him.
Oh yeah.
Right. It like squirts on his hand or whatever. And it doesn't happen. Jordy just touches a lady who falls out. So, which is fine.
Yeah.
I understand, but it's just like, it's interesting. It's interesting how the two things, like how they get contracted is interesting.
It's weird. Yeah. Also, it's one of those things where it's like, if this is like a disease, like what's its like function? Like, how does the disease itself like thrive through
Just binds the water molecules and makes people drunk. That's it.
Huh.
Yeah, so we come back from the intro and we get a really good look at the sick bay.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah,
beds
finally.
and the monitor is very similar to TOS, but it's like obviously up to date and
Yeah.
Geordie Lane there and everything.
There's like 4 doors in the sick bay.
Yeah. Yeah. And she has like a proper office. Like I said, McCoy just like walking over to the side of the wall
Yeah.
and everything. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I will admit that Geordie Wesley scene was pretty kind of weird. Where you go
Yeah.
to Wesley's quarters and he's using like the tractor beam thing on the chair. And then
Oh
Geordie's
yeah, it
like,
was.
oh man, this is great. And then he like touches Wesley's like back of his neck, like to like congratulate him or something. And you're just like, this is
He's like,
weird.
oh, I feel so hot.
Yeah, yeah. Like, where is this?
Okay.
Where is this
All
going?
right.
It's like Jordy's got to be in his 30s, and Wesley's like 15. You know, like maybe don't, maybe
Yeah,
don't.
maybe don't make this weird. Yeah. But then you're like, as a viewer, you're like, well, this Gordy must just always be like this because he leaves and Wesley's like, yeah, I don't need to tell anybody about this.
No.
He didn't hear on the loudspeaker that like there's a
Yeah.
security alert for Gordy or anything.
Well, he when Picard does it, he only tells security. He doesn't make like a wide ship thing. He doesn't tell everybody on the ship, just security.
Well, that is true, yeah.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to like inform everybody.
No, just security. The CGI is pretty good in this episode, I thought. Like the
Yeah.
tractor beam thing looked pretty cool.
So I think, not to make you sad, but I think a number of years ago they went and like remastered all of Next Gen, just like they did the
Good.
original series.
Good.
Yep.
I don't like seeing anything original with my eyeballs.
No, not anymore.
And this is the stuff I talk about like all the time. Like when you subscribe to services instead of like owning physical media these days, this is the stuff that happens. Like
Yeah.
you see stuff and it's like that's not how it looked. Like they've altered it and now you don't see the original. You don't even own the original. So they could alter anything digitally.
Right.
And that's just what you have now.
Yeah. It's very true. The only good thing is the Akutas and some other people like went painstakingly through it, and when they updated it, they either just did what they wanted to originally do, like if they had this technology, that's what it would have looked like, or that's what they would have done. But again, much like when you watch the original series, like it's updated, but it didn't. They didn't update it in such a way where it's like it's completely different from the original.
Right.
It's
just a little bit more enhanced.
It's just enhanced and looks a little cleaner, and that's really all it is.
Well, that's cool that the Akutas did it. That makes me appreciate it more.
Yeah.
You know how I am. I have PTSD from Lucas doing stuff constantly.
Of course. Yeah, so another example of somebody not saying anything. We come back from another commercial, and Tasha brings Geordie into the sick bay.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's like, and then Picard is like, everybody's in the back talking, and then she's close up, and she's like, oh, and it's like, definitely don't tell anybody that you're feeling weird or feeling off or whatever.
No.
And the thing I was thinking when I was first writing it down, I was like, oh, well, maybe she's like too inebriated or too like out of it. But then, like, when you get to Geordie and it's been a while, like when he's in the conference room, he has some sanity because he's like, I don't want to be doing what I'm doing. Like, don't let me let go and sink into all of these like feelings and like actions that I want to take.
Yeah.
And it's like it's been like minutes, and she's like, nah, I'm not gonna tell anybody that I'm feeling weird.
And then even like not that much longer, she's like walking down to her quarters. And it's just like all these crew down there, they're just all like kissing, it's just like, how is it spread so quick? Like, did Gordy just go around and just be like, "Oh, good morning. Oh, hello," and just like touch everybody
Oh,
on his way to the
just everybody's going by. Oh, it's good to see you.
high five, Gordy, high five. They're all high fiving each other.
We kind of already touched on it, but it's pretty cool that they like do the actual thing where they actually reference another episode instead of just
Yeah.
being like, oh, it's this thing, this poly whatever. And then everybody in the audience going like, that was an episode 3 or 6 of, it's like, no, they actually are like, it is a thing that happened on the Constitution class Enterprise. And they break it down. So that
Yeah.
was
They even name dropped Kirk
yep.
because it was during Kirk's era.
Yep.
Did they say McCoy? Did they say McCoy's name? I thought
I don't think so.
like how he was on the ship last week.
Yeah, that's like we would never bring him up again.
Yeah, like, oh, yeah.
Before we went to another commercial, I was like, chief engineer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this episode is so funny to me what they choose to make like the series premiere. Because last week it's like, okay, so it's all this stuff happening
Right.
and it's real weird, but like you don't really get to know the crew. Now here it is, the third episode, and they're like, all right, I need to talk to the chief engineer. And it's like, I was like, yeah, we like haven't seen
Edit, yeah.
Picard walks through engineering in the first episode, but
Yeah.
like nobody's there.
No.
So now we're seeing like engineer crew members.
Right.
I was like, huh, all right. This is weird.
And like also getting like way better shots of engineering too.
Yeah.
Because now there's like that alcove where like the glass is and you can see the core and like the like panels and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So I'll just tell you right now, hi and goodbye to Lieutenant Commander or Lieutenant McDougal. Gone. That's it. You saw her, she's gone. Never gonna see her again.
Oh, she's the chief engineer?
She's the chief engineer, yeah.
Weird. What about the other guy that was playing with the power chips?
I think the power chip guy is in a couple more episodes, but not many.
I don't even know if there's supposed to be like a main engineer guy in this show. I don't even know if I could tell you.
Yes, the answer is there is 100% a main engineer guy in the show. They just haven't shown him doing that yet. But that's okay. When it happens, you'll be like, oh, it'll be like one of those like,
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So this is the halfway point. So go down to the comment section and write McDougal. Give some McDougal love in the comments.
McDougal, we hardly knew you. She does walk on the bridge very funny.
Yeah.
You rang, Captain? He's like, no, I don't.
Absolutely.
I need you down in the engine rooms, moron. That's where you belong.
That it's like acting captain, blah blah blah. Yeah.
I'm now giving official control to Wesley. It's like,
yeah. Then he's like,
acting captain.
Yeah.
Picard is great, man. He's so good.
He's pretty good.
Oh man.
So in that section, we come back from commercial and all that's happening. I forgot what the comment was, but they're up on the bridge. Oh, I know what it was. It was Data was starting to say the limerick. And he's like, there's a lady who's from Venus and her body was shaped like, and he's like, security, we need you.
Get me security.
And then it cuts over. My favorite part, Data's like, did I say something wrong? And Worf's like, I don't understand their humor either.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I like how throughout this whole episode, Worf is the only one that remains like
Nobody's touching
good.
Worf.
He's fine. He's totally fine.
Yeah. He's like, whatever. Plus, plus it probably takes quite a lot to get him intoxicated.
Yeah, right.
So we're in the stretch of the thing you probably didn't think was going to happen in Star Trek.
Data
Data.
doing the sex. I
Doing the sex.
did not expect any of that stuff to
Yeah.
happen at all.
We're technically 2 episodes in, even though the last episode was a 2-parter technically. And
Yeah.
I just always think like it is the second episode aired and they're just like immediately robot sex. And you're just like
Robot sex.
okay.
Yeah.
And then she casually, which again we'll expand upon it, but then she casually is just like, I was 5 years old and I was escaping rape gangs.
Now,
And you're
what the
just like,
frick?
you're like, what? Why are you just speaking of this casually? And she's like, but let's have some robot sex.
Yeah.
I don't
Now I
know.
want you to give me passion, robot. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, like I was like, just like, is this serious? Is this seriously what they're doing? I was like, did I hear that wrong? No, I didn't hear that wrong.
Yeah, she's like, oh, you jewel. She calls him. I was just like, oh boy.
Yeah, and she's wearing that like pretty revealing, thing. Like even for like the 80s.
Oh yeah.
It's like, damn, wow. Her hair, she's got the little Clark Kent curl.
The curl. Yeah.
But like so the door opens and I was like, who is this?
Yeah.
Who is this? And then I was like, oh my God, that's the security girl. Like, how
Perfect. Yeah.
are you fully functional, robot? Yes,
Yes,
I am fully functional. Yes. It's one of those things I didn't need to know.
Right, exactly.
Like
I guess
while
that's
we
a
were
better way to
finding
put
it out, I was
Right.
like, I didn't need to know that Data was fully functional in all aspects. I really enjoy when he comes back to the bridge, though. That was one of my
Yeah.
favorite, like,
Yes. Oh yeah. Yes.
He like shows him the lift elevator and he's like leaning it. Oh man.
It's coming down the thing.
It's pretty good.
That's when we come back from a commercial and he comes down and he's like, and Picard's like, you can't be intoxicated. Like that's a human thing. And he's like, but I have pores, Captain. I have fingerprints. He's like, if you cut me, do I not leak?
Yeah, I know. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So I think one of the worst things that they do in this episode, besides the Data Yar thing, right? I think the absolute like most egregious thing that they do is every single male character that gets this this virus, right?
Yeah, they
Is
just
either
can't.
like silly or goofy, or they're just like they have a really bad headache, or like they're just bothered, right? Because like Picard and Riker towards the end are just like they can't think straight and they're constantly like wiping their heads or looking at their hands and they're just like they're losing concentration. And
Yeah.
like Data's super goofy and like Geordi is like he's not really in the full episode, so it's like anytime he shows up he's either like he's just kind of silly. But then you cut to the women and all of the women are just like, I have to have sex right now. And it's every single one of them. And you're just like, oh my God. Like it's so
That is true.
it's so
Wow,
stupid. It's
that
so
is really true. Yeah.
it's fine for them to be that way, but also make the men that way. But instead, all the men are like, oh, I'm drunk, but I'm very stoic. And it's like, I don't think that's, oh man. Just think about it, really. Riker gets it. He gets touched by Deanna after it's like, please, don't you want me? And
I want you to feel my emotions inside your brain. Like, I don't want that at all.
He's like, I'm taking you right to med bay. He gets her there. She's having her whatever. He goes up to the doctor. He grabs her neck for whatever reason. And then she's like, "Dear God, you have it because you touched her. Now you've touched me, you monster." And then Riker just goes back to the engineering room and he just works with the engineer. And
Well,
there's
that's what
no,
she has that she says like you need to be like quarantined now. Like we all have
right.
to quarantine. And he's like, if I don't fix the ship, we're all gonna die. And he just like leaves.
Yeah. Right. And he gets down there and he's just doing the things. And remember, the same amount like he's been intoxicated longer by let's say a few minutes than
Mhm.
Beverly. And what's Beverly immediately do? She goes to the bridge and is like, Picard, come into
Yeah.
your room, zips her thing down, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm a woman and you're a man." And he's like, "Beverly, what's going on?" Right?
Yeah,
And he
he's
does
like
that.
lost. He's lost.
He does this really weird clearing the throat thing. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, dude, that was so weird.
I had
That was so
not.
weird.
Every time I see the episode, I try to understand what's happening and I don't get it.
I was just like, what? What? And I don't remember them like actually like
No,
making contact,
they
right?
don't. They don't.
So then he's like immediately after this scene, he's
Immediately.
like just drunk. And I was like, how?
So this is the only, and I'm gonna, and I don't know. I don't want
They
to
tried to
say it.
touch, they were trying to touch noses and stuff. Yeah.
I want to
Oh, you
say
think she was
yes. I think the way it's shot,
nice?
but they
Nice.
can't, they can't show it on television, right? You can't suggest it on television.
Oh my
The
God.
way it's shot, he's like this, she's like this. They're standing full body.
Uh-huh.
Most of like 3/4 of their body is shown, and the camera zooms in to just their like shoulders, and
Oh my
she
God.
walks really close to him. And I think you
Yeah.
gotta remember, I
Wow.
think she reaches into his pants and he does the like kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that you know what? That's the best theory. I mean,
That's
what else could it possibly
it's the
be?
only thing that makes sense because
Because
otherwise,
that accounts for the weird throat clearing thing, and it also
yeah,
accounts for like how he becomes infected like immediately.
exactly. Yes.
And I thought it was weird that they were trying to like touch noses constantly in the scene.
So I've always tried to wonder what was going on, but I'm pretty sure that's what was.
Yeah, no, that I like that theory. That's pretty good. Wow.
Yeah.
There must be a cure, some formula. Similar to the old one.
Wow.
The really later, the other funny scene that makes me laugh with Picard is he's so intoxicated that he can't just say the word "out of here," right? Because
We gotta get
yeah,
I would like the ship to move, please. Like
and Worf's just sitting there like I don't know what he's gonna order.
he's like, Wolf, you know what to do. You know what to do. You need to get Wolf, come on, you know what to do. Wolf.
Worf's like fire phasers, fire torpedoes. I don't.
Initiate self-destruct. I don't know what
I don't know. And then Riker's just like, get out of here, leave. And he's
move.
like, oh,
Oh, oh yes. That makes as much sense. And you know what's funny is that scene is really stupid and funny, but then it's almost more to like Wesley's point when Wesley's drunk. He's like,
oh wow, yeah, he makes a great.
he's like, you
Yes.
don't do anything on the ship. You command other people to do things on the ship, and then they do it. Like you
It's
don't really. And it's
literally
like,
your
yeah,
point. It's your point from last week when it's
yeah,
Riker standing there and he's like 4/10 of a turn, and he's like, steady, and
Yeah,
it's
what-
like it's the Khan and Data like
Yeah.
doing it, and you're like, okay, like yeah, you're just telling people what to do. You're not actually doing it.
yeah. And he's like, all right, now up and lock, and they're like, and then they finally connect, and they both are like, turn around, look at him, like, how did you do that? Well, I have a pretty good sense of direction. I'm really good at saying left, right, little more left, little more, no.
Oh,
Right. Okay, now up. And they're like, wow, manually. No wonder why you're number one. It's just like, dude, oh man, that's so funny to me. Like,
It
you're
is.
not doing anything.
I like that when you texted me the skipper thing. I was like, I know what this
That's
is.
pretty. That was pretty funny. The tractor beam.
Yeah. So,
Wesley,
Wesley,
I need you to
He's trying to
use
ask.
your brain reasoning powers.
It's like,
He's like,
he gets like really angry. He's like, you must.
Wesley, I need you to.
Yeah.
Really good.
Well, this time it brings us to trivia.
Oh, not again.
All right, now you're overacting.
So everyone on the cast pretty much hates the episode.
Good. I'm sure they all hated doing all these.
Yeah,
This stuff.
I didn't enjoy it.
Did Picard hate like when he had to like walk around and be like,
Oh, and he was like skipping. Yeah.
what is that, dude? It's so ridiculous.
I don't know.
So ridiculous. He like skips on his way in and then he leaves the desk and he does a little hop.
He does. And the other really
Oh wait, you will address me as Captain Picard. But actually, you know what? You're right because I addressed you as Beverly first. That's why you addressed me as Picard, not Captain. Riveting.
Yeah. So because
wow.
we live in this era of time, anything that refers to something in the past, you're like, oh man, awesome. They're making a reference to something I've already watched. But back then in the 80s, they were like, wow, what trash, because they're repeating an episode. So that's how most of the fandom when it first was aired.
I can see that, yeah. I can totally
Also,
see that.
at the time, everybody was still really into original series. And so when you air like an exact story, people are just like, why are we doing this again?
Well, it's good.
So even George Takei, who played Sulu, was like, it looked like a bunch of children dressing up in adult clothes and running around.
Yeah. Isn't that his big episode, right? Where
Yeah.
he's got the fencing sword? Yeah.
He's got the fencing sword. Oh, yeah. I read that Gates McFadden, who plays Dr. Crusher, like, this is what she read for her audition and thought, like, the doctor was going to be a big, like, a goofy, comical doctor. She didn't realize, like, instead she liked it. She liked the doctor being, like, silly, and she thought that would be a fun thing to play. And then it was like, no, it's just one episode where she's a goof.
Why would you have people table read this script of all scripts?
No idea. But let's get into the meat of it. So Gene Roddenberry assigned DC Fontana to write the script, and DC Fontana recalled during the period of April and May 1987, she delivered the revised outline, first and second draft scripts of it. She asked for her name to be removed after rewrites changed the episode significantly from her original intent.
Wow.
She says, while the script was given a good reaction by almost everyone, the Roddenberry pattern of dealing with scripts befell it. After a staffer turned in the official second draft of the script, they were not allowed to touch it again. No matter how good a script appeared to be, it would be rewritten by Gene Roddenberry.
Huh.
If possible, scenes of sexual content would be inserted into the script. When two such scenes were put into The Naked Now, in addition to other scenes which I felt debased the female characters of the series, I put my sentiments into a frankly worded memo of comment on the script. My comments were ignored.
Yeah.
So she's given J. Michael Bingham as a pseudonym.
Huh. That's interesting.
Which I would get.
Yeah.
DC Fontana.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic, and like now you're making the women look like retarded. It's like
yeah,
clearly she didn't write that. So
yeah.
So it's the sad reality of Gene Roddenberry, and it's just like he
Mhm.
was so forward thinking for so many things, but he's terrible with
Yeah.
woman stuff.
Yeah, like we always joke now, like after we did the animated
Oh yeah,
episode with Adri about the
yeah.
anytime Adri is like voicing her opinion, I'm always like, shut up about the flower, Mildred. Shut up about it. No one cares about the flower.
No one cares about the flower.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true. And you know what's interesting is that in the naked time,
Yeah,
it is not at all like sexual.
no,
It's just people running
not
around.
overly. Yeah, not overly. Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, you know, Kirk obviously is always kissing some alien,
Well, like
but
Sulu takes Uhura for his like whatever, like bride to be or whatever, like his conquest
oh
of
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uhura. Doesn't Chapel and Spock, isn't there like a little bit
I
of a
think Chapel, yeah, that's right. Chapel comes in and confesses like her undying love for him ever since
yeah,
she sang that song in the bridge about getting into the Vulcan Academy. But
right,
or am
right.
I getting two timelines mixed
Oh, that might be.
up? Yeah, but it was just very much like Spock, I've always loved you. And
Well,
he's
yeah.
like, I can't talk about it. It was not like this at all. It
Well,
was
that's.
very,
I mean, right. The reality is it's 21 years later, so like
yeah.
television has changed in that time. You know, they don't.
I
They.
thought even this episode was a little too much for the early 80s, if I'm
Oh,
being honest
sure.
with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean like a handful of those frozen people are naked. Like they're covered or they have blankets or their hands are across their bodies or their leg
Yeah.
or like the guy's leg is up so you don't see anything,
And
but
it's
it's like
very clear, like, it's very clearly like they were all having like a big, like, orgy in that room.
exactly.
Like, it's very, like, in your face.
Yeah.
Because you see all these naked people in like the bed and stuff, and you're like, what was going on? And then you're like, oh,
Oh
yes.
yes.
Federation Orge.
Yeah,
Nice.
the famous Federation. So we come back from trivia and we go into our last stretch after our fifth commercial break. And I forgot who said it, but I wrote it down and I wish I said it. But I wrote, nice to see you, Wesley. But I forget who says it. Oh, Data. Data says it.
Oh, Data says it, yeah.
When they Riker pull is like dragging him down to the engineering to fix the chips, which now you're getting to see isolinear chips.
I like the chips. The chips are pretty sweet.
The guy is just like, yay, yay, a tower of chips.
I like how when the chief engineer
Yeah.
finally makes it in there, she's like, yeah, we're screwed. Because she hasn't seen through the glass window what's going on in there before.
No.
She walks in and she's like, hey, we're never getting out of here. All these chips, all the power chips are out.
Well, this is the thing that you'll see consistently, not constantly, but consistently throughout the show is you get to see kind of how cool Data is, and they obviously like speed up the footage of him putting the
Yeah,
chips in.
it's great. Yeah,
But it's cool. Yeah. Yeah. And
If
just
only there was someone on board who could go through the chips in a numerical way.
hmm.
Someone like some kind of computer man or something.
There's like a thing where when he's doing it, and he's like, I think we're gonna get hit by that thing in like 7 or 8 minutes. Is he like, can you do it? And Data's like, no. No, we're not gonna be
No, we'll be a minute too long.
but I'll just keep doing it. La, 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 la. Two of the other kind of dumb scenes that happen here is the doctor figures it out. She inoculates everybody. Right? Jordy's like, wow. And she goes down and she goes in and she gives it to Picard. They split up and they do that funny, like, Picard does that, like, and he goes off camera.
Yeah.
And he goes down to the engineering and he's just like, and then doesn't do it to Wesley.
Oh yeah,
Then Wesley's like figuring out the repulsor beam thing, and it's like,
yeah.
why are you not inoculating him? Like, I'd like to see what this kid can do drunk. I'd like to see it. Like, it makes no sense. Because at this point, like Picard, you saw how fast it acted on Geordi. It was like it happens within seconds. You're back to normal. You're fine. So it's
Yeah.
like Picard is literally standing there with the inoculation in his hand. He's done it to everybody else in the room except for him, and then it's just like, mm, we'll see. We'll see if we get out of this problem. We'll see.
Give it a whirl, whiz kid. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Right, exactly.
To be fair, though, I will say he probably doesn't know what he's even trying to do, and also like he probably doesn't really even want him messing with the stuff in the first place.
I agree. But when you're up against the wall and it's like within a minute you're gonna die,
You get all hands on
it's
deck,
like,
I guess.
just figure it out. Like, oh, this kid's got an idea. Let's let him do it. We literally just spent like 5 hours trying to get into the repulsor field that he's made in engineering. We had no idea how to do that. So it's like,
It's one of those classic Star Trek things too, where it's like he's like, hey, why don't we just repulse the meteor? And he's like, that would take weeks to reroute all the power. And he's like, why don't you just reroute power from the here to here to here, and then here, and then these two here. And it's just like, what? What about the induction coils, Wesley? And he's like, oh, the induction coils? Yes, that's true. Let me just around those into here.
he's a genius.
And he's drunk.
And he's drunk. Did he say Wesley, the boy? And then she's like, yes, he did say Wesley.
She should have said yes, Wesley, my boy.
That would have been good.
Did you say Wesley, the boy?
The boy.
And then
Yeah.
Riker's like, you're gonna have to write this up in your official report. And he's like, yes, I'll have to write it in my official report.
But the second thing I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So you have this huge, Kelvin degree molten part of a star is flying at them. Okay,
Yeah.
shields are not up. It would be absolutely cooking the ship.
Oh yeah.
That's fine. They repulse away. They push away from the other ship to let all those people die.
Well, they're already dead.
I mean, maybe there's probably
I
some.
thought they said earlier on that like everybody was dead. All life forms were.
Yeah, I guess so, but I don't know. Just feels very like
Most of them were frozen, and the other ones got all sucked out into space.
yeah, blown out. Excuse me, blown out. But that's giant piece of a star hits the ship. It blows up, which has a warp core, and the ship. They're not that far away from everything. And
Oh, it would blow. It would blow. Yeah.
like you would have to. It's like there at no point do they raise shields for anything, and they just are like, "Wow, that was close."
What about even like the radiation of space? Like, wouldn't
Right.
it be
Exactly. Exactly.
if like all the power chips are out? Like, I think all your systems wouldn't function. I don't know. Maybe life support stays on permanently.
Yeah, I don't. Nobody knows.
The other funny thing too that has always been funny to me about Star Trek is like, so you have like engineers and mechanics, and they're working on stuff,
Yeah.
and they're like, they're always holding these like tools that have like lights on them, and
Yeah.
they're just like pointing at stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's that doing?
It's fixing.
Doing something.
You don't, Caleb, you don't understand. It's like 300 years in the future, You
Yeah,
just-
well, that's true. Yeah. I appreciate, though, in all honesty, I appreciate that the doctor still has her tricorder,
Mm,
and she still has the handheld part where she's scanning.
yes.
I like that. I was like, hey, that's cool. That's
That's
still a
cool.
thing.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we see their medical tricorder. Yeah.
And this is the first time we see their other, science tricorder, because Gordy has it on the ship when he's walking through the ship.
Yeah.
So like in this era, their tricorder is basically their like communicator. It like flips open.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of wraps it up. There's not much to talk about it. People get drunk from touching each other, and they act really weird.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's nice that they call back to the original series. We like it, but yeah. Not much to it. But before we go, let's do the thing everyone's been waiting for.
Caleb? 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 Caleb?
So, Caleb, who gets the Erica Ortegas Award for being the most unlikable?
I don't really like Gordy this episode.
Okay.
I don't like how he gets drunk and immediately goes into a child's room.
Okay. That's fine.
I like when he's in the bed and he's like, I want to see rainbows.
Oh, yes.
I was like, hey, I get it.
Yeah.
I want to be able to read.
Rainbows. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, questionable Jordy it is. Okay. Who gets the Elizabeth Cutler Award for being the most forgettable?
What's her name there? Deanna?
Oh,
The
yeah.
girl that always has emotions.
Yeah, Deanna Troy. Yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty forgettable this episode. She doesn't do anything really.
She's upset that Tasha's taking all of her clothes and then is like, hey.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that scene too. Yeah.
And then she's like, Captain, I'm pretty sure she's
She's
infected.
sick. Because she
And
wants to
Captain's
like
You can't get
wear
infected.
my clothes.
Yeah, yeah. That was my favorite part too, is right.
Yeah, you can't get infected, stupid woman. Yeah, well, she's something then because
Yep.
she's trying to wear out my dresses and she's very aroused.
All right, next is the Mugatu Award for the best alien of the episode.
Worf.
Yep. Nice job.
Always Worf. I don't understand that humor either.
I love Worf. Next is the Trip Tucker Award for the MVP of the episode.
Probably Data. He puts those chips in and then he goes to engineering and fixes those chips as well.
Oh, you can't. Gee. One control chip to the next. Fully functional.
Fully functional control chips all over the ship.
Wow.
Yeah, he's pretty great. He's pretty good in this episode.
Next is our new trophy award, the Spock Award, for the best line of the episode.
It might be the scene with Data and Worf where Data's doing the limerick.
Okay.
And then Worf says, he says, I don't understand their humor either. That's pretty good.
It is pretty good. It is pretty good. I like
Because it can't be Picard saying, what the hell every week? I mean, it could be.
It could be.
Can't be.
But it shouldn't be.
But it shouldn't be. It's kind of a cop out.
Yeah. Well, you might have to do a cop out for this next award. Next is the Shran Award for the best action sequence.
Definitely when Data goes to the security officer's room.
Oh yeah. It's the award this week is called the best action sequence.
Yeah. Take me, Robot.
Take me. Next is the NX Award for some sweet ship stuff.
Engineering.
Yeah, more engineering. Is it specifically the control chips?
The control chips are pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah.
But I really like too when they pull that like panel off and they're trying to like cut the power to the you can see like the panel and all the wires and stuff. I like that.
Yeah.
The control chips are pretty cool.
But we'll split it. We'll split it this week. It's just engineering. It's just cool engineering ongoing.
Yeah. Pretty sweet chief engineer that I look forward to seeing more of.
Yep.
And
know her well.
You gotta figure out if there's a space in the basement where I can put some control chips.
Oh, there's always space in the basement for control chips.
It's gotta be like blue acrylic.
Yeah, it's just like
plastic.
yeah, absolutely.
I like how they're supposed to be like they're supposed to go in order and they're just kind of like labeled with like a circle and it's just like
Yeah. Oh, no problem. It's probably because they had to like look at it, scan it with a tricorder, and be like, ah, yes, repulsor beams, and then put that in and pick another one up and scan it. And they're like,
That's so
replicators, and they put it.
that is so like unpractical for a ship.
Yeah, I
And the
don't
way
think
that they just like slide in too, it's like if they take any damage on the shields and go like, oh, like those are sliding out.
maybe when they press in, they do that nice little like clip and they
Click.
clip in. Yeah,
Yeah.
has to.
Yeah.
Definitely
it,
not
it
just
should.
loose chips inside of slots.
I wonder how long it really took him to put all those chips in.
Oh, it probably took him probably 10 minutes, I would say.
Because they
There's a
speed
lot.
it
There's a
up, but
lot.
it's a lot of chips.
And also the other thing is too, you're right. The other thing too is like it's not just like the same sequence of him putting the same ones in. Like
No,
eventually,
he's literally filling the board out. Yeah.
right.
So it's like they filmed him just like putting all these chips in.
As fast as he
Like,
could do it, right? Yeah, right.
yeah. And then they speed that up. And then they also have those scenes where he's talking and they just like, hey, just pretend like you're putting chips in. And he's like, Captain, I don't understand what he's just doing this.
Yep. Next is the Porthos Award for the cheesiest thing of the episode.
It's definitely Picard in that scene where he's like skipping through the med bay.
Yes, okay. Okay. Yes.
And he's trying to hit on her
Yes.
by like being like, "Oh, I'm the captain. You should call me captain." She's like, "Well, I'm the doctor. You should call me doctor." And he's like, "Yes, but I called you by your first name. Therefore, you called me by my first name." Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
It's called stretching time. Yeah.
It's so funny to see Patrick Stewart like acting like that too. It's so funny.
Like,
And it's even funnier
yeah.
to me knowing that like he was kind of like not like known in America at this time. Like it's so funny to me.
And he's also coming from like the Royal Shakespeare Academy, like overseas. Like he's a really well respected like thespian over there. And he's coming over and he's like, yeah. Okay.
Wesley, you will give me control of the bridge, Wesley. It's really great.
Finally, we have the Enterprise Award for the best scene of the episode.
I do really like when Data comes back onto the bridge.
Oh, okay, yes.
I do think that's a really funny like sequence.
Yes, I know what you mean.
It's really, really great.
That's all like
Yeah, he like leans on the door. He's all like,
yeah.
proud of himself. It's great. But also this is when Picard puts the like the whole ship is falling apart.
Yes.
He's like, "Get me engineering." They're like, "There's no one in engineering." Like, "What? Get me security." And she's like, "Oh, I can't talk to you, Picard. I'm in my quarters." He's like, "Oh my God, what is going on?" It's just like a really funny sequence. And Worf is just sitting there like, yeah. I have no idea why I joined Starfleet. I could be eating wild togs or whatever they are.
Yeah. Instead, I'm watching this giant piece of the star fly right at the ship, and I'm doing absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Get my bat lift.
Set me to it.
He just flying his face.
I wish. Gotta watch every single episode again.
Yeah.
With honor.
And yeah. Oh my God.
So
Good.
now it's your time to write in the comments section. Let us know what you thought of the episode. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you want more of it? Were you a little intoxicated?
Yeah.
Let us know down below.
Next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Okay, I don't want to sway Caleb in any way, but sadly, next week's episode is Code of Honor.
And it's absolutely sucks.
I make no comment.
Yeah. It's probably the only good episode of the season.
As always, you can like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and ring that bell for
Transfer update
notifications
complete.
so you know
That's
when
the
the
wrong-
episode goes live. Oh, sorry, you're right.
That's the
episode.
wrong universe.
Also, don't forget to go over to Caleb's channel. Over there, he has a prop channel. He makes tons and tons of stuff. He's got a lot of cool things over there, especially Star Trek things.
Yeah.
Even better, all 6 Kirk movies are over there on the channel, reviewed by us.
Yeah, all 6 of them. From the worst one, which of course is Wrath of Khan, to the best one, which of course is Search for Spock. They're all over there. Currently, I just put out a video, Star Trek video. That's another like update to the basement, the game room. And I put a TV in the wall, like inside the wall. And I built a frame around it so it looks like it's a Star Trek panel from the Enterprise with all these buttons and switches and stuff. Yeah. So check it out. I'll show you how I did it, and maybe you can cut a hole in your wall. That's what we should tell everybody. It was one of those things where it was like I spent all this time framing the wall and putting sheetrock up and like making sure the sheetrock was perfect, and I painted it, and then I was like, well, here we go. And it's one of those things where you get like one shot. You get one shot at that.
Well, go over there and check out that video. Just came out a few days ago. So thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for doing all the fun things down below. They're so fun to do. Make sure you do them if you didn't. Our Discord and our Patreon are in the description. Click on those if you want to do more fun things. And if you're listening to the podcast, thanks for listening. Caleb, check us out.
All right, computer, end the program.
See you guys.
What the hell?